Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. We are excited to co-host this program each year alongside WTCI and the state of Maryland, and to be among so many influential business leaders here tonight. In addition to my role as Vice President and General Manager of Ports America Chesapeake, I have the privilege of serving on the World Trade Center Institute Board of Directors, where I am proud to be able to participate in events like tonight, where you can connect with officials at our ports and gain valuable inside perspective on the future of our transportation in the state. As has been customary over the past 14 years, the annual State of the Port Address will be delivered by the Secretary of Maryland's Department of Transportation, who plays no small part in building our state's world-leading transportation system. It is an honor to introduce our Secretary, Paul Wiedefeld. Secretary Wiedefeld is Maryland's 18th Transportation Secretary, appointed by Governor Moore earlier this year. Secretary Wiedefeld has more than 40 years of experience in the public and private sector. He previously served as Executive Director of WMATA, BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, and Administrator of the Maryland Transit Administration. As Secretary, he is rebuilding the state's top-class multimodal transportation system by focusing on safety and connecting Marylanders to life's opportunities. Please welcome MDOT Secretary Paul Wiedefeld.
Good evening. How are you? Good. Thank you, Mark. And again, I personally want to thank you for everything that Ports America Chesapeake does in partnership with us every day to make a very successful port to Baltimore. And thank you, Eddie, obviously, and your entire team for the support you provide for BWI and the Port of Baltimore. And as you know, they do tremendous work. I had the pleasure earlier this year of hosting two medical professionals from the Ukraine that were visiting the area to learn more about the medical institutions we have here in Maryland. My wife happens to be Ukrainian, so it worked out very well. And it's good to see some Ukrainian liquor here. But I told him I'd be there after the presentation. I will keep this very brief because I know that's where you want to be as well. But what I thought I'd do is just give you a short overview of some of the priorities, obviously, for the department and for Governor Moore, and then talk about the Port of Baltimore and BWI performance. And then I do want to just address a little bit of the financial headwinds the department's facing. If you've read the Daily Record or some of the other things recently, that's been a topic of discussion. So in terms of the governor's priorities, his number one priority is economic development. But he comes at it from maybe a little different perspective than historically. And Kevin definitely carries this as well. And it's around social equity. It's about protecting the environment, and it's about sustainable communities. So when you grow the businesses throughout the state, how do you do that where you bring everyone along, really? And that's really what it's about. So when we think about transportation, that's how we're thinking about it. How do we bring everyone as part of the economic pie? Because we know the long-term success of Maryland, of Baltimore, is linked to that. And it's not going to succeed unless we bring everyone along. So that is, his number one priority. It's the number one priority for us. He's a very sharp businessman, if you've ever met him. I've had the pleasure of working with a number of governors. They all have their pluses and minuses. One thing I found very interesting about this governor is if you had the pleasure of seeing him or talking to him or seeing him at a presentation, he is the same gentleman behind the scenes that you see up front. He turns down the charisma level a little bit. He has a lot of charisma, but he is someone that listens, that wants to understand, and that makes decisions. And that's what you want in a leader for sure. So he's going to be very supportive of, he is very supportive of the department, everything we do, but particularly the Port of Baltimore and the airport. In terms of the Port of Baltimore, basically continues to bounce back from the pandemic. It's strongly rebounded, actually. And just recently, it's also important to understand that it is the Port of Baltimore, but it's really Maryland's port. Right? When you think of the jobs it supports across the entire state, businesses it supports across the entire state. So in fiscal year 23, the MPA's terminals handled a record of 11.6 million tons of general cargo. And in 24, the cargo volumes continue to increase. Roll-on, roll-off, farm, and construction machines are up 28%. Containers are up 6%. Overall general cargo is up 3%. And yes, the Port of Baltimore remains first in the nation, autos and light truck volume and for roll-on, roll-off machinery. This year, the port also welcomes the largest ever container ship to visit Maryland. Where's our friend from Evergreen? He's here somewhere. And the port is in very good shape to accommodate the increasing e-commerce buying habits because of its great supply chain and many local and regional distribution and warehouse facilities near the Port of Baltimore. So your Black Friday and your Cyber Monday purchases are on their way. So just hold on, they'll get there. But between both the port and the airport, obviously they play a huge role in that. The other major news at the port, obviously, is everything that's happening on the cruise front. And we have bounced back dramatically on the cruise front, and that will continue into 24 as well. Turning to BWI Marshall, its economic impact is roughly $9 billion annually. It continues to recover from the pandemic as well. As we close the fourth quarter, our seat capacity up 16% over last year. But more significantly, it's up 4% for the same period in 2019. So it really has grown, which is fantastic. And that trend is planning into 24. The seats are up 8% again in the year over year and up 5% compared to 19. So again, great work from Ricky and his team there. As you know, BWI is also a cargo center as well. And again, that's where a lot of your gifts will be coming through, BWI. And again, thanks for all the work that they do down there to support that. Excuse me. I thought I would now just talk a bit about some of the headwinds facing us. We have like any business in this room, tremendous pressures due to inflation, the labor market, materials, all that. So you can imagine with a multi-billion-dollar program that we provide in terms of both facilities and services, those numbers have gone up dramatically over the last year. We have basically dealt with other issues besides that. Our major source of fund is the motor fuel tax. And as people who drive cars that are more fuel efficient and electric, that's great for the households and not so good for the financial model. Titling, cars are lasting longer, that's great too. Again, not that good for the financial model. About 40% of our revenues come from those two sources. So that's a huge issue for us. And also, we were very fortunate during COVID to receive almost $3 billion from the federal government to support transit in both the Washington and Baltimore region. And that's what kept those systems going, that supported basically the fabric that kept all of us happy, right? Those were the people that were filling the shelves, right, at the stores. They were the people going to the hospitals. As a lot of us were sitting home, those were people that did that. And that was funded by that $3 billion. Unfortunately, that $3 billion is gone. That has disappeared this year. So that's another big issue that we have to face. There's some other obvious issues on how we can sell debt and things like that. That all gets compounded with that. But I'll just close by saying, at the end of the day, we're going to continue to deliver a major program. We have roughly $20 billion in our program that we are going to continue to deliver. So that is the good news. But we're going to address this issue, right? We're going to work in partnerships with communities throughout the state, with the businesses, because it's about the future of the state, and we're all committed to it. And this is just another hurdle that we'll get over as we do that. So again, thank you so much for your attention and for everything you do to support the economy of Maryland. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Secretary Wiedefeld. And thanks to the entire MDOT team for your leadership and for your continued partnership with WTCI and the global business community. It is exciting to see such impressive progress, the important emphasis on safety, and the larger goals ahead for our ports. And we're grateful for the opportunity to share those updates with so many companies here tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eddie and Jeremy. Thank you both. Appreciate it.